Hi, I'm Sharon Bill. Welcome to my Theory Tuition series where we're working together step by step through each of the ABRSM Theory grades. There are lots of resources available to help you on my website. If you go to sharonbill.com, you'll find some free PDF information sheets. They're available to download in US letter or A4 and they accompany each step of this series. You'll also find a page there with links to all of my YouTube video tutorials, and you can access information about the books that I have available. I've written an exam technique guide, How to Take Your ABRSM Music Theory Exam. It's full of tips and techniques on how to best prepare for your exam, and also how to make the best use of the time on exam day when you're working through your exam paper. So if you go to sharonbill.com, you'll find it's all there. If you can give me a like, that'd be super, and please do subscribe to my channel to keep updated. There's lots more in store. And so now we're going to look at the last question of paper B of the grade 3 2015 past paper booklet. So if you turn with me to page 8, and that will take us to question 8. Now this is another example of how these older papers are slightly different from the newly revised exam papers from 2018 onwards. The format is slightly different, and so on the newly revised exam papers, these musical directions and performance terms will be presented to you in multiple choice format. However, I do suggest that you do go ahead and give these their definitions. It's good revision. Do remember that this is all of the musical terms and performance symbols from grade 1, grade 2 and grade 3 all accumulated. So it's really worth a good revision session. I do suggest that you group them thematically. So group all of your slow terms or fast terms or loud, or group them in any way that makes the best sense to you. You could even colour code it, whatever it takes to get creative. And so I suggest you have a go at these yourself. First of all, just test yourself and then carry on and have a look at the rest of the question, and then we'll look through it together. It's always better to learn by your mistakes, and so we'll go ahead now and just check these answers. So andante, this is right back from grade 1, means at a walking pace. Not too far a stretch of the imagination to see that this means expressively, or I suppose you could say with expression. This is cantabile, is in a singing style. This here is an accent mark, which means, or you could say forced. And here this is a dynamic symbol. It's your crescendo term, which you can see the dynamic is opening out, and that means gradually getting louder. So they weren't too tricky, I don't think, after a little spot of revision. And so now let's look ahead at the next question. So we need to describe the time signature of this melody. Here we're always referring back to this little extract at the top. Nice piece by Grieg. And we need to say whether it's simple or compound, or whether it's duple, triple or quadruple. So let's look at the time signature. We're in 6/8, which is 2 groups of 3. And you can see that's really obvious here. And so we can see that it's compound time because it divides into 3s. So it's compound. And we can see that there are 2 groups of 3, and so we're in duple time there. Let's move on. So we're told that the melody is in the key of G minor. We need to name the degree of the scale of the first note of the melody. So we're counting from G with the treble clef. G is here, 1, 2. Don't forget to always count G as your first step of the scale, second, third, fourth, fifth. So we know that's the 5th. Alternatively, you can double check yourself. If you write out the steps of the scale, don't worry about all your key signatures and so on. Just get the letter names. That's for this purpose. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and we can see that this is a note D. Every good boy deserves and we can see that D is the 5th, so that's a double check there. Now this question here, it's often very easy to guess what the answers to these are going to be. There's usually quite common threads here. We need to show one similarity and one difference between bars 5 and 6. So here's bar 5, here's bar 6, and straight away we can see that the rhythm is the same. We've got crotchet, quaver, or quarter note, eighth note, and then the same again. So we can see that the rhythm is exactly the same. And then we can see that the pitch is slightly different in the last 2 notes. So it begins the same, but the last 2 notes have different pitch. So if we just say last 2 notes, the pitch changes. Alternatively, there is also one other difference. We can see that in bar 6 we have the PP dynamic that we didn't have in bar 5, so you could have also pointed that out. And so now we need to have a look at this next question where we're asked to give the letter name of the lowest note in the melody. So let's just scan to the top, and you can see as we get lower we get onto some ledger lines. So we're getting low here, and then this one here is the lowest of those. If we work from middle C, we know that's middle C, B, A, G. The key signature doesn't affect that. Alternatively, we could count up an octave: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and we can see that's G an octave lower. So that's our answer there. Question G, letter G. And now the next question, a little bit of maths involved here. How many semiquavers are the tied notes in bar 4 worth in total? So let's just diagram that out. So we can see here we got a dotted crotchet or a dotted quarter note tied to a quaver or an eighth note. So in actual fact, if we just diagram that out, we can see that a dotted crotchet tied to a quaver or a dotted quarter note tied to an eighth note is actually the same amount of time as a minim or a half note, and that's much easier for us to be working with, which we know divides into 2 crotchets, 2 quarter notes, which divides into 4 quavers or 4 eighth notes, which will divide again into 8 semiquavers or 8 16th notes, and so that gives us the answer there. So we can see it's divided into 8. Let's look at the next question. This is the last question on this paper. So we're asked to write out the melody from the beginning of bar 5 to the end of the music. So we're literally going to be looking at this last line here, but we need to change the octave by making it an octave lower, and we need to change from treble to bass clef. So let's first of all just map out our bar lines. So sometimes in the exam I think they've changed it so that this will be presented to you here, so you haven't got so far to keep up the page, but the stave's at the bottom here, so we'll just have to keep sort of scanning to the top. So I'm going to do my best and just align this with theirs, with that second line, so I don't get lost. So we just etc at the end. And so let's have a look what our starting point is. At the moment, here's middle C. Use middle C as a reference point. You can see we're on the C, D, E, F, G above middle C. And so to make it an octave lower, we need to be to the G below middle C. And so here's our starting point of middle C, B, A, G. That's our starting point now. An octave lower in the bass clef. And then we just work everything out by following the interval. So we can see we're going to go down a step, then we're going to go down a fifth, down a step, and so on. So just keep glancing to the top. So we've got a G, down a step, and then you can see we're going 1, 3, 5. 1, 3, 5 takes us to B. That's the B below C, whereas here this is the B below middle C, so we know we're correct. Down a step takes us to A. And then you can see we go right the way back to the note that we started on, and that should be 1, 3, 5, 7. So let's just work the interval. 1, 3, 5, 7 should take us back to the G we started on, and it does. Down a step. Then we're going down 1, 3, 5, 6, and it should take us back to this note. 1, 3, 5, 6. It takes us back to this note. That's correct, but we need to flatten it. That's an A flat. Down a step to the G, and then we're going to go up 1, 3, 5, 7. That should take us back to this note here. 1, 3, 5, 7, and we can see it takes us back here so that we know we're correct. So then we're up a step, and that should be the note we started on. If we see here, that's correct. Back down a third, 1, 2, 3. That's correct. Down a step, up a step. Down a third should take us to C, which is an octave below middle C. Here's middle C. That was our anchor point, and we should be a whole octave below that now, and we are. And the next door note, D, dot that, tie it, and that's all the hard work done. Now we just need to add the stems, so we're going to have to change the direction of the stems, of course, because we're now above the middle line here. We're below the middle line here, so they can, oh, that's not got a tail on it, that's a crotchet. Quaver, so that's correct. Stems down, stems up, and then we can beam these, but the stems will have to go down. Here, these could go either way. This one can go either way. This one needs to go down really, this one needs to go up really, so, and they're both an equal distance away from this middle line, so it's entirely up to you which way you choose to beam those. Tie that last note. Let's just double check that through, and we've done all the work, so let's just add the last little details. We've done all of the hard work, so let's make the most of it and in every one of those 10 points by just adding those last little details. And that's the end of that question. And that's the end of that paper. I do hope that that's been helpful to you. I hope that you've found that of benefit to your studies. I hope that you've enjoyed it. I'm certainly enjoying working through it with you. If you visit sharonbill.com, you'll find lots of resource and information there to help you. So please do go visit sharonbill.com and have a look at my website. If you can give me a like, that would be really super. Please do subscribe to my channel to keep updated. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.